shouldn't have called the
There
timer.
we go.
There we go. All right, here we go, boys.
All right.
Everything that lives is
So yeah, like we've said many times before, it is a race, so there is very high chances for things to go wrong. So that minute of time difference between PVs could really, it could mean nothing, or both runners could just PV again. You never know. We've seen a huge influx of PVs in this tournament so far. Even pools round 1, but even the second little bit here, we've already seen a big plethora of PVs coming through from all of the players.
This is Operator 60. All units confirmed.
Yeah, for sure, and with all the soft blocks that can happen and all the really iffy and complicated tricks that you can do, there's always room for players to catch up. Even though we haven't really seen very much of that so far.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing to note, as the timers are getting cropped here, this is being run in loadless, so timers will be synced up right now, but they're definitely due to get out of sync depending on individual player load times, and there's a lot of points that will sort of abuse having that loadless timer, like transporters count as a load screen, so they save time for transporting between distances. This opening section 2 is not a lot going on. It's just a basic shoot 'em up section. Ideally, you want to clear out the waves as quick as possible to get the next one spawning fast.
There's a few things you can do, like manipulate the AI to get 1 or 2 seconds total off of the shmup section, but other than that, it's just memorizing waves, really.
Yeah, for sure. There's not a whole bunch of huge time save here, but Prologue can be a pretty good indicator for runners of different skill levels. Normally we'll see about a 430 opening shmup for newer runners, newer kind of experienced. 425 for maybe your little bit more experienced runners, and your top runners will get about a 421, 420 time. It's a really good indicator for like how much optimization and micro optimization runners have done on their runs here.
You say that, but I don't think I've ever gotten below 423. Lol.
Okay, fair enough. But you are fullest the slump god. Let's just call it that.
The thing about Wallace seems to be he prefers not to optimize his prologue too much, so he can surprise us with his amazing performances later on in the run.
Exactly. Keeping around the full minute of time save. What a champ. Top 5 with plus 15-minute prologue.
Oh, both runners getting a really good time on their call, almost exactly the same.
Yeah, it's still pretty close.
I'm curious to see what we'll see for a couple running strategies as well, because we've discovered a couple things over the last couple weeks. I don't think they're tested or used enough for either of the runners to really implement them into their strategies, especially in a race setting. Initially, when the tournament started, we had the auto scroller coaster skip. That seems to sort of be a hit miss for a lot of runners. Doesn't really save up a lot of time in the skip initially itself, but I think it actually loses time. But what you're getting out of it is, a time save for the rest of the run and the movements of spear dashing.
Gotta correct you there, the auto scroller. It does actually save 5 seconds in total. It just is usually negated if you want to equip spare, because that takes about 5 seconds to manage. And you can do the tank, which gives you more reliable level 20, which saves about 8 seconds in total.
Yeah, and you guys were working on routing that in as well to get both in the auto scroller coaster skip.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon.
423 and 424 crashes here for Fudgecow and MT respectively.
Alright, so we now get into the section of the game that is, what you'll be seeing for most of the run. It's a hack and slash third person sort of setting. These silos sort of act like the same opening shmup in the sense that as the waves come down, you just want to clear them as fast as possible to get the next wave spawning.
MT got a bit unlucky there with the whirly arms.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the most annoying things to deal with the smaller robots, we call them stubbies, can be the whirly arms. It's not too big of an issue later in the run, but definitely in these opening sections, if you get too close and they start charging up the whirly arms, they'll just cancel you out of pretty much any attack that you're going to throw. It can be quite annoying because then you have to space yourself back pretty far to get the damage off on them without getting smacked.
Man, if only I knew that was an effective fighting tactic when I was a kid. I would have gotten all the bullies off my back.
Something that you will see runners doing pretty much all the time during combat from this point on is something we call damage glitching. Basically, it's performed by backdashing and doing a heavy attack with a short sword after, which just makes the sword spin in the air for a little while and amplifies its damage by a factor of 5. And later on in the run, we can also do that twice, so it'll deal even more damage. And what the runners are doing right now is called crane skip. There's an alternative to this that's currently being explored, but it's pretty hard to pull off, so I wasn't really expecting it in a race yet.
Yeah, one of the high points of this run for, if you're actually running it, is the movement system. It can be a lot of fun. You can break a lot of the game with it just because 2B's aerial movement and ground movements are so insane. A lot of moves will like push you very far, and we can use that to clip into walls a lot of the time. The overplayed joke is that walls are merely a suggestion in this speed run, but it is very true. It does hold a lot of weight there.
They really are.
Unfortunately, Fudge going for a little bit of an optimization there on the silo to try and laser the two. Both of them synced up coming into bridge skip here. Definitely one of the harder high jumps in the game. You'll see both runners.
And both of them failing one try.
Alright, Fudge taking the advantage here a little bit. It is a pretty precise skip in terms of timing. You do have to delay your first lift, so jump and then use your heavy attack. If you do it too late, you just end up getting an aerial heavy, but if you do it too early, you're not going to get enough height on the jump.
Yeah, most runners, when they first start learning the game, bridge skip takes them almost an hour to get for the first time, but over time it gets more consistent.
I feel like bridge skip's a very good initiation to this speedrun, because if you can do bridge skip, you can do most of the skips in this game. Let's be honest. I mean, a couple of the out of bounds clips are a little bit different, but in terms of hitting high jumps, once you know bridge, you can do pretty much anything.
Is it an initiation or is it a hazing?
Good question.
The one separation in attempts between these two runners right now has put them about 10 seconds apart, so that's pretty significant considering how close they've been so far.
So while we're waiting for this next section up here, we'll actually see if Fudgecow is going to go. He is going to go for the swag skip. It does save about 1 second if you do get the right angle and anything up,
time loss. Now MT has a chance to catch up. Oh, MT skips it. I think MT is going ahead right now.
So you will see both of them kind of synced up there. MT did slip a little bit ahead, but they are both coming through about the same time. You saw Fudgecow having a little bit of issues with a tech we call a double lift. It's something that you do when you go into a slanted surface. Doing a lift quick enough will allow your feet to touch and essentially reset your jump, allowing you to do another lift right after. You can just use it to get huge height, but man, if you don't get it on the right angle, it can really screw you up.
Dang, they are less than a second apart right now. Damn close.
Now, I am kind of curious while we go through Marks 2, because it is pretty straightforward. I'm going to pose the question that was asked in chat. What do you guys think is worst? From, like, being the worst to not the worst. Stubbies, Spinners, or Adam?
Ooh.
I'd say Stubbies for sure, then Spinners, then Adam. That's my personal verdict.
See, the way I look at it,
always in the Stubbies.
I think Adam's the worst, because at least Stubbies have the decency to die at least when you damage glitch them. Adam just sometimes pops up the shield and just says, "Ah, I'm not having any of it."
But you can circumvent the shield problem by doing double laser and then just kind of like disabling it with your slow-mo on the second pod.
True enough,
you
but that's
can. With an
that's a lot of
optimized
work.
fight. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying that's a lot of work. At least stubbies, if you know you're not going to get it, they just jump out of the way and you just reset.
And with Adam, if you even with an optimized fight, he can still choose to troll you with extra attacks. I'm sure you guys have seen the clip from Kuneris.
Yes. Sadly.
Alrighty. Either way, getting a little bit back on track with the speedrun here. Both runners coming up, or they are in the Angles fight, pretty much the first major boss fight of the game. Not much happening here. You're just going to see them get a little bit of damage on when Angles throws his punches out. And besides that, we're just waiting on a timer. As soon as that happens, a cutscene comes in where 9S enters the scene, and then Angles will choose to do one of his attacks randomly. Some
Fudgecow messing with the swag.
Very detrimental to your time. We'll see what Fudge gets.
Pray for RNG.
Not punches.
Very nice.
Very
so
nice.
typically, any of the projectile moves aren't going to lose you really any time at all.
With the
no.
punches.
No.
I think that version loses 23 seconds.
Yeah, it does. It does
That's
lose 23
awful.
seconds.
And Fudgecow now going for the left pipe. What a horrible person.
He is on left pipe.
Don't worry about the pipe thing, it's just a meme going on in the
Let's not
Discord
bring up
non-stop.
pipe. I don't want a fist fight happening in the commentary booth. Alright, so unfortunately, MT getting punches. He is going to lose about 23 seconds here. A very annoying way to start out your prologue in a race, but, you know, there's time to be made back here. MT does have the faster PB, and both runners did just PB today, so...
They're both on the left pipe.
Let's just drop the pipes. I was going to say something, but let's just drop the pipes.
But what about Iron Pipe?
I think we can all agree that that's slow.
Okay.
Alright, so we'll see Fudgecow coming up on... well, he already did one double lift, but typically this is the first place you do a double lift. You'll see it on the stairs. That's your angle. Pull off the double lift, nice and clean.
Crisp.
Alright, and we do have an annoying stubby fight coming up here. Questica, you want to explain this one?
So basically we call them ninjas because they appear out of nowhere and they have the tendency to get iframes whenever you don't want them to have iframes, which is happening to Fudgecow right now, as you can see, and it just slows down the fight a lot. And you'll see runners frequently resetting over this, usually just because they're tilted and because it's mentionable time loss. But yeah, once you're through the ninjas fight, which MT is doing pretty well right now, you're pretty much good. That's the end of prologue. You just have to hope for a little bit of RNG on Engel's side, so his attacks line up with the end of the dialogues, and the rest is just waiting it out.
Yep, MT having some pretty good execution, so he is going to have his time a little bit cut here. But again, you know, you could lose it on this Angles RNG towards the end. We are waiting for a dialogue trigger where 2B says, "Shut up." If Angles is in the process of doing another attack, though, when she says it, he does have to finish that animation before he'll actually start up the, like, blast away punch. So it's not a large amount of time lost, but if you get, say, like a really long-winded attack starting right as that dialogue's about to come in, you can lose about 5 to 6 seconds, I want to say.
You can lose quite a bit of time that way, yeah. Fudge didn't get too bad of RNG. Not the best, but serviceable, I guess. And we'll see what kind MT gets.
Unfortunately, it's MT did say in the chat that he is getting some FPS issues. That can be a really detrimental thing, especially in a race where you cannot reset. just because FPS issues, when they start happening, they usually don't stop until the run's over, and it can really screw up a lot of your inputs. I have been on my fair share. I've been on the end of FPS issues quite a bit recently, and they're not fun to deal with. All right, so we will see Fudgecow coming up into the bunker here. A little bit of a whiff jump there. Normally you want to jump back at the line so you land close to 9S. That way it saves the time you walk slowly up to him. And we will see that sort of get abused a lot in the cutscene skips or just sort of like dialogue skips. A lot of the time NieR will set you up so that there's a trigger before you get to the dialogue that you want to get to. And it'll have this sort of like cinematic walking in slowly sort of thing. Usually we just want to skip that, so we'll try and either get ourselves as far into the dialogue trigger as we can, or just straight up skip it altogether, like cutscene triggers.
So we're in the first boss, in my opinion, menu percent. Fudgecow doing very well there.
Morning.
And MT coming up to it pretty soon too. See how he does. Pretty good.
Doing pretty well so far. See, yeah, he gets the
yeah.
9S.
Huh?
both of these guys pretty seasoned. Very good at dealing with menu boss. Bunker is mostly a lot of mashing, though. Actually, we saw Fudgecow just do a quick little thing there. He does a quick little pivot to get 9S to run out the door. If you just run straight out the door, he actually gets trapped in the room. And so having him next to us actually allows us to do a partner dialogue cancel into the dialogue trigger. Saving a couple seconds there. It was pretty clean, honestly.
He got 9S stuck in the room and 9S respawned.
Better head for the hangar.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it can happen sometimes. Definitely trips me out too, because I'll think he's stuck and I just put myself in the trigger.
Yeah.
I've been getting a little bit of success with it recently by just walking towards 9S and standing right in front of him, and instead of dashing into him and out of the room, I just dash out of the room twice.
Oh,
Now, while this shmup is going, I think it would be a good idea to kind of cover movement options, because you're going to see it a lot in this next section. There's no real combat coming up here. It's mostly just movement through the city ruins and picking up a bunch of drop quests. God knows we love drop quests.
You're going to have some new weaponry and
Fetch
from here on
quests.
out.
Fine, fetch quests.
Commit them to memory.
Boy, do I love them. I just remember that name. Just sticks in my head. But yeah, typically the movement in this game, running is the fastest option. If you have to run for a set amount of time, I think it's something like 51 seconds, something. It's a long amount of time, and doing that sort of uninterrupted without having to jump or anything and screw up your speedy dash, it doesn't happen very often in the speedrun, so a lot of the times it's faster just for us to spam dashes at the right timing.
I'm gonna have to correct you there, Six.
Oh my.
It's faster to run with B mode, but the time it takes to activate B mode, because that takes an extra 2 seconds, it takes around 51 seconds for that speed to make up for that. You're just standing still.
So does it not matter with
sprinting? Is always slower if you're 2B.
Yeah, I didn't want to believe it initially either, but it turns out, sadly, sprinting will never be faster.
It is awfully slow.
Well then, mind blown. My life is a lie. I'm
Never sprint with 2B. Hey, if any of you are playing this game casually, just chain dashes at least. You'll save like 1 second every 15 seconds, and you'll never get that time back if you sprint. So.
I mean, there's only one time I use it in the run anyway, so it's not a huge deal, but I'll make sure to cancel that out now.
Something you see runners do right now is doing chaining dashes and like small punches. That actually does save a tiny amount of time, as Pullist gladly found out for us. And you'll also see them do like dash swings or punches right into cutscenes. That saves you from having to do a slow walk, which would lose 2, maybe 3 seconds every single time.
And they feel awful.
Oh, they feel the worst.
I'm actually skipping them. I'm not ashamed.
Target location data obtained. Mark
Yep, dash punching in this part of the story is definitely the fastest mode of transportation. That's pretty undisputed at this point, but when we do upgrade our sword after these fetch quests here, dash swinging then becomes the most effective means of transportation.
And it looks cool.
True enough.
Vegetation's claimed most of it now.
So again, like I said earlier, you know, we're just going to see them try and get the most optimal dash punching here and just pick up these fetch quests as quickly as possible.
Good to hear.
Just a lot of beelining here.
Good?
It's fine. Does that question have anything to do with our operation?
Not really. I just figured it might feel nice to have some good weather.
That should be enough.
Fetch quests, my favorite.
So a lot of this movement tech, like here, you'll see Fudgecow jumping over this barricade and just doing a couple plunges. This is stuff you might have even done if you were a little bit up on the movement system in your first casual playthrough. But nothing too out of the ordinary, just, you know, some efficient movement here. We will see Fudgecow trying to pick up this fetch quest. You do want to try and get them to come around the same area, so your drops are pretty quick. Oh, unfortunately, Fudge getting baited out and having to run backwards.
Oh no!
Yeah, sometimes you get 4 items to drop there, and the game will tell you, "Oh, nice, you've got all 3 items," at least by the audio cue. But after a few dashes, you usually realize, "Damn, that was the item I was meant to pick up."
Yeah, so what's happening there is there are guaranteed drops, 3 of them, but the stubbies still have a chance to drop one of the items that goes with the quest. I think it's the rusted clump, and the quest still counts that, or it still like makes a noise for it when you pick it up. So a lot of times, if you're not paying attention to your mini map and looking for that red circle there, you'll get jebaited and head all the way back to resistance camp and throw away your run.
Yeah, it is. It's such a big kick in the pants when it happens to you, because it's so easy to circumvent it, just prevent it from happening just by looking at your mini map.
It happens so rarely though that it's not something that you would really look for all the time.
Oh, exactly.
Ugh.
That's why it hurts so much more though when it happens to you.
That feel when good RNG screws you.
Yep. So both players just doing a little bit of menuing in the resistance camp. Only thing we really buy here is an upgrade for our sword. You'll see both players now dash swinging. And then they're just going to kind of beeline it towards the desert here. We do all our buys over there. A couple important things, but I think the resilience chip is probably the most important buy out of everything that we get there. If one of you wants to explain
makes
it.
the game very convenient to play. So, like, normally you'd say, why do I get hit so much as a speedrunner? Like, in a lot of games you try to not get hit. In NieR we have this thing called the resilience chip. And as long as we have it equipped, it basically makes us immune to any kind of staggers as long as we are above 80% HP. So we just face tank pretty much everything and heal up afterwards, so we constantly stay above that threshold and are virtually immune to any kind of staggers, making combat a lot more efficient and faster, because you can just spam your damage glitches non-stop over and over.
Yeah, just allows you to plow through some bosses straight up. A2 specifically is one of those very annoying bosses. And it's one of the reasons why the next boss that both players are coming up on can be so annoying, because we don't equip resilience until later in the run, and Adam can kind of throw out a couple mean quick attacks. Definitely stagger you out of your damage glitches, throw everything off for you.
The stubbies too in the pit before you fight Adam with their whirly arms. Oof.
The stubbies, however, we can't really do anything about. Like, there's a strategy for beginners where you just buy 2 resilience chips and equip one before that fight, but it's definitely losing you at least 5 or 6 seconds, so it's probably not recommended.
Did you see that movement from Fudgecow?
Yeah, I was about to say.
Gate clip? That was pretty
He
good.
came in so
liked
low. That was spicy.
I liked that.
Let's keep it real.
Yeah. Dude, Fudgecow. Surprising me with every run.
The difference you'll see between the two runners in that tunnel there is Fudgecow did manage to stay outside the tunnel. The one benefit to that is that when you get to where MT is now, you actually can just straight up avoid the cutscene trigger and save 4 seconds. So, but it is a double-edged sword in the fact that if you manage to fall off the invisible floors, you will void out, and that will lose you about 4 seconds. So
So it means even if you mess up, you probably don't lose too much time. If you don't mess up, then you gain some time.
yeah, exactly. As long as you're not spending too much time trying to avoid the avoid clipping back in and losing time that way, definitely the good thing to go for.
You could just not mess up.
Yeah,
That's true. Just get good. That's it.
Yeah.
Free world record.
Stupid rock incoming.
Yeah, this is quite the stupid rock.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Don Burrows with the instant dive. Fudge getting lots of good RNG.
Yeah, that enemy tends to just do whatever he wants, and sometimes he'll just be in his idle animation for, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds or more, and then you can't do what Fudge just did there, which is just sliding on that rock with a plunge attack. And you'll just lose all your momentum if you try and be stuck there. Otherwise, you save a lot of time by simply slow walking right there, what this MT is doing right now, and being right on top of the cutscene pretty much as soon as the dialogue is over.
Right, we'll see Fudge coming up on one of the more, like, I don't know, I don't want to slime blowing it. It's a special rounds because it's really off the map.
Is the microphone failing or something wrong with this right now?
Oh, iRobot 2. Become robot.
Yeah, I did as well. Discord.
Discord.
What is this?
They just really cooled down and we weren't really able to explain. Basically, that's there. Alright, now we're at a bit.
That's So I'm just a little bit right now and can check tell me if you can hear me clearly or it's for dying right now.
Come on! Through that hole! It stopped. Looks like we're safe now.
What the hell just happened?
I know. I've never seen a machine like that before. We better report this to command. Let's move to an area with better reception so we can contact command. Okay, this is good. We should be able to reach command here. 9S to bunker. Do you copy?
I read you, 9S. Go ahead.
Operator, we just encountered a pair of humanoid machines. We weren't able to capture them, but I have combat data ready for upload.
Understood. Ready to receive.
Hopefully you can get something out of it. Maybe we should...
No.
Roger.
Operator to 9S. Data upload complete.
Roger.
I also have an incoming message from the commander. Initiating playback.
2B, 9S. We've lost contact with several Yorha units that were on their way to the surface. Their black boxes are online.
Non-existent for the timer.
We've tracked the location of
And
their signal.
Fudge tried to do
All
the same
Yorha
thing,
units
but
on the
he
surface.
missed the
Head
wall
over and
to
investigate.
the out-of-bounds part of that particular
End
section.
transmission.
So he had to go the intended path and listen to all the dialogue that comes as soon as you pass a
Target
certain
location
point
confirmed.
in that
I'm
tunnel.
worried about the other androids.
And
We should probably check
that
the
kind
looks
of
like their
disables
service
our
routes
saving
got cut off.
abilities.
Maybe we
So
can get through from underground.
the
So, 2B,
the advantage you would
those
normally be
machines out in
having
the
through the
desert
save
look
scum
just
gets
like
negated by that,
androids,
so you might as well
right?
just
But we
keep
androids
running
were modeled
instead of
after our
loading and
humans
saving.
invaders. So why would
Be back.
machines try to look like us?
So something to keep in mind, since Fudge didn't do the save scum and MT did,
I suppose.
their timers are now out of sync since we're going by loadless time. So even if you see Fudge as being a little bit ahead, do keep in mind that his timer is also ahead by around 13 seconds. It's pretty significant when the runners are this close to each other.
Fudge having a little issues with the amusement park discovery skip, just missing the double lift on the first attempt. Not too much time lost, but you know, every little bit adds up.
Yeah, that's one of the things with this speed run.
I'm
It's-
very curious if Fudgecow,
Oh
okay,
my.
misses the let's play skip there. I'm still curious though if he's gonna try for the roller coaster skip. I've never actually watched one of his runs in recent times, so have you ever seen him do that?
I'm not sure
Doesn't look
myself.
like it.
But yeah, it looks like he's not going to go for it. You know, MT pretty close here, keeping just a little bit behind. I think MT is a little bit ahead here now because of that save scum. Get an idea here when they get on the coaster.
What's this?
Analysis. It is a device that propels humans on rails at high speeds for the purposes of amusement. It was commonly referred to as a roller coaster.
Oh, what did MT do there? He just talked to 9S. while he was-
I think I know what he did because I think MT specifically likes to change up his partner style when he gets into this section, so I think he did switch it to balanced instead. I'm not sure what he initially had, but
So what do you think?
I have seen him bring up that he does like at roller coaster to change his partner pattern.
Oh,
That's very interesting. I haven't seen anyone do that strap before, so that's quite intriguing to me.
So neither player opting to go for the auto scroller coaster skip. We're just gonna wait out here. They'll get a little bit of experience from killing the mobs on the coaster, but
getting on the coaster is a time section. Not much else you can do. You're kind of just stuck here.
Oh, you can still pick up the items and get lucky. Maybe there's a dent plate or two there for you. That helps with potential VC-free RNG later on in the game.
Did you guys ever ride roller coasters like that, though? Like, they're just standing on top of the seats. It's kind of weird.
I mean, that's what you do if you're an absolute unit.
Well, since they're...
I guess I'm not.
Since they're all androids, I suppose they just don't know how sitting down works. They've only learned how to lie in the bed.
Wait, they do know how to sit down. You know those benches by the jukebox and the...
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They can sit down.
But maybe they only have certain parameters on what's allowed in terms of sitting.
Oh, so they just paused there to resync the timers, and Fudgecow missed that the save scum. No worries.
Alrighty, so yeah, we will see MT. He is about 2 to 3 seconds ahead, I want to say. Yeah, about 2 seconds.
Oh, MT's ahead. That was not apparent at all.
Hey, I don't need your sassfulest, okay? But yeah, we got... they're just gonna go through here and just try and destroy all of these, you know, crucified androids as quick as possible. They do shoot out hacking waves that can slow you down by a significant amount if you get hit by it. I might want to turn down the sound just a little bit.
I've almost analyzed the enemy's hacking pattern. I'm going to try to hack it back. Keep it busy. You got it.
And here, neither of the players actually needs to buff. You just damage glitcher down to her threshold, and then you can go kill a couple more androids over on the side for the experience, and then go back and finish Beauvoir off. And you'll see both players SDing as soon as they level up here when they hit Beauvoir's kill threshold. This sets us up for a thing we do later called the Death Warp. But we can get into that when it comes up.
I haven't seen that attack from Beauvoir that Fudge just got in a really long time.
The machine had some pretty weird things to say, huh?
I didn't even know that existed.
Like actual emotion.
The machines don't have feelings.
I think I got it.
That was...
Yeah,
sorry.
I guess.
Or something, but... Oof.
I thought that was maybe just the attacks from the androids by the sides being weirdly slowed down for whatever reason.
No, that was Beauvoir shooting all those hacking things out. Pretty scary. I'm glad we don't normally run into that. Unfortunate for Fudgecow that he actually got that attack.
Yeah, it is sort of funny how we do tear through the bosses so quick. We only usually see like 1 or 2 attacks maybe out of them, and it's usually going to be their most common attack pattern. So a lot of the time we can, you know, run into something that we don't always see that the devs programmed in to happen a little bit less.
Damage glitch is OP.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see both runners here just kind of running along over towards Pascal's village. Just a little bit of smooth movement, nothing else particularly special here.
They're doing it very well though so far. It's more tricky than it looks at first. You kind of have to pace your dashes and your swings very precisely, otherwise that happens what Fudge just did.
They all have white flags.
Looks like they really don't want to fight.
And so they will be picking up the transporter here. This leads into the Death Warp that we talked about earlier. You do have to save, because when you die in this game, you just get transported back to the transporter of your last save point. However, quest information does carry over, I think, or at least I think it's the quest information, because we grab an item from an enemy in the resistance camp, and then we kill ourselves, and then Death Warp back to Pascal's village, since we don't have transporters unlocked yet.
Yeah, dying in this game, it preserves any sort of game progress, whether it's related to quests or any items that you might have picked up, except for the chips that you have equipped. thankfully, at this point of the game, we don't have any chips equipped besides the default system, so it doesn't matter.
Yep, and that's why that Atom fight can be a lot more
got
difficult
a
early.
boar. Yeah.
And you just saw a small difference between the two runners at that barricade skip with the box. So MT didn't actually get a small recovery, so he was unable to use his self-destruct button, which carries us in our momentum when we press it. So usually we just try to do a plunge and then SD, so we can just kind of squeeze right between the box and the barricade and clip through it. Fudgecow, however, had a small recovery, which he decided to use, making that section just a little bit easier, even though he fumbled it once, I think.
Yep, SD, you do have to be above an HP threshold. You can't be at like dead zero like you are right after SDing. So getting that small recovery is pretty essential, just because it allows you to recover enough HP to unlock your SD, but still get one shot by the animals when you go to Death Warp. So we will see MT going for that Death Warp now. He is transporting. Saves a lot of time instead of just running back to Pascal's village, especially because it's all loadless time. And this is the most effective way of doing it since we don't have transporters unlocked yet. This is kind of just like a budget transporter.
This does save time over running back even RTA, so it's also interesting to keep in mind. This has been in the route for a very long time.
2B, this is an emergency transmission from the bunker. We're reading a Goliath-class enemy inside the city.
So both runners now will have to run right all the way back almost to Resistance Camp, actually just right next to it. And we can't bait any animals here because they're all running panicked because 2 angles just dropped in the middle of the city ruins.
2B, Command is deploying new flight units.
So we will see them just trying to do city ruins pathing, just try and beeline it towards the city angles as fast as possible. And man, oh man, I do love this section of the game for how broken it is. I think I brought it up almost every time in commentary, but it is just kind of quintessentially shows, you know, how much we cheese this game in this speed run. Kind of back to back, we just have 2 different ways to cheese out the Angles boss.
6 has recently been showcasing a very particular method of skipping both bosses pretty much instantaneously. I've been trying to replicate it or find a consistent way to set it up, but sadly no luck so far. It's pretty much the best you can possibly go on that section. You skip the first boss and the second one just dies before you even arrive there. So I wonder if somehow through RNG, Jesus, we might be able to see that today.
I wish I could tell you how I do it, but I honestly have no idea myself. I actually did manage to get the glitch in an E-ending run today, however, it was on Groon, and it was with 2B.
Oh, interesting.
So it was, instead, it was right before Goliath Flyer, and all the enemies were dying instantly, as well as all of their orbs were being shot automatically. But I was not able to just instantly kill Goliath Flyer like we can kill City Angles when the glitch happens.
So are we not going to talk about how MT just literally ran through that invisible wall?
I was gonna wait until Fudgecow arrives there and hope he does the same thing, but sure.
That's just a prime example of how the developers of this game just did not consider that people would maybe use different movement options that they put into the game. Fudgecow getting the double lift over that very same wall. It's
we're seeing 2 different versions of that actually. There's one version where you can basically just double jump right through a very tiny hole inside the invisible wall during a particular point of Angle's swing, or a specific time frame at least. And there's the backup to that, which Fudge was doing a little bit later on. Basically you double lift, you do a heavy, you jump a heavy, and if you're not secure about your height, you just do SD and heavy again, and then you dash over the wall.
We will see Fudge doing the way we cheese the second angle. You buff with range.
Too close to that laser though.
Unfortunately, yeah. So Angles actually has a pretty janky hitbox in terms of his big meaty shoulders. If you wedge yourself right in between them, you can actually get your entire pod program to fire off. And it takes about 2 pod programs buffed with a range attack up to just straight up kill the angles. But unfortunately, what you saw was Fudge. He positioned himself a little bit too close to the laser, and so the laser ate a couple of his shots, slowing it down just a little bit.
Seems like they've been here for a long time.
What is this place?
I don't know. There's nothing like it in the database.
MT's
So
about to
next
start
section-
the negotiations.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Negotiations is a section where there's only very few minor optimizations you can do. The first is do the pop fire during the beginning of the dialogue. That way you skip Eve talking, which does save a few seconds, I'm pretty sure. And after that you want to kill him at least one single time for free level up. And once you're done with that, you can high jump out of the negotiations route and back into the tunnel, clearing the enemies. But the section itself is timed after the dialogue that Adam is talking right now, so you can't speed it up any further than that.
So that pod fire at the beginning of the fight actually is actually to one, prevent you from possibly activating Eve's dialogue, which can make you lose up to 10 seconds or so. But in addition, it also positions him further to the right, which sets us up a little better for this high jump that MT is trying to do right now.
And yet loved in equal measure.
And there he goes.
Fascinating, don't you think? What could possibly drive such behavior? We have dedicated.
Yeah, it's gonna just be a nice little way, kind of get away from having to dodge Eve's attacks, and you get to clear out the tunnel for the extra XP and just open yourself up to dash swing here, as well as getting materials for VC3 if you do decide to upgrade that way.
Then dissect and analyze them in order to drag their secrets forth into the light. Surely you see the attraction in this. Are you insane?
VC3 has recently gotten a little bit of optimization as well, and there's actually something that MT mentioned earlier today. So you can, if you're not confident with VC3 out-of-bound clipping during copied city discovery, or actually CCC version 2, you can just postpone it until after Adam, I think it was, and or no, after Grun. I'm not exactly sure about the order anymore, but he just gets it a little bit later, which I think is a pretty good idea.
Back this way again? What a pain.
Yeah, I've never played around
It's
with
not
it myself.
optimal, but we don't have very good lineups, or the clips for both Copied City Clip version 2 and Mansplaining Skip, which we'll get to later in the run, are very difficult with the upgraded sword to Virtuous Contract level 3. So MT will probably opt to try and upgrade the sword later in the run rather than before A2. The runners are still pretty close. I think they're probably within 20 seconds of each other or so. We'll see. MT just did the transport at 47:42. We'll see what time Fudgecow has when he does the transportation.
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be about 20 seconds ahead, maybe 25.
Yeah, Fudge got stuck a little bit on some rocks on the way out, so that lost them a little bit of time.
We will see MT actually just did a partner dialogue cancel at the top of the stairs. There's sort of a dialogue trigger right around that door. If you hit it, it just triggers the dialogue between 9S and 2B talking, but if you position yourself next to it and then SD to cancel your idle animation, you can walk as soon as you start talking to 9S, and then just walk into the dialogue trigger and it cancels out. So saves a couple seconds.
We of course pass yes to us for where
All right, we will see both runners doing their buys here. They can kind of check out to see what chips they got, and MT probably, because he is probably going to try and go for VC3 if he can actually afford to do that.
Sadly, usually he only has 2 severed cables, so that's not happening right now.
Yeah. So normally we just sell away a bunch of our normal stock chips just to make room for a couple damage chips that we'll throw in. The place that people actually equip kind of varies. Some people do it right here. Other people opt to do it after 4 robots because there's a chance of getting weapon attack ups. And we will see MT doing mum skip right there. It's saved about... it's more than 4 seconds, because I think it says 4 seconds in the guide, but it feels like a lot more than that.
It doesn't save too much time. Failing to get the double lift a few times like MT did actually rendered that skip, so it probably didn't save any time.
Yeah, I forgot to calculate in the amount of time it actually takes you to set up bump skip. So 4 seconds does sound about right with the setup instead of just running straight into it.
The records say it was once a facility known as a shopping center.
We will see MT coming into another partner dialogue cancel here. Normally there's about like 10 seconds of dialogue here, but you'll see him go to a trigger in the floor here and just walk into it. Very clean.
I'm not sure if Fudgecow bought defensive buffs, but something that you might normally not see is MT only bought attack buffs instead of defensives, which does save a little bit of time on menuing during the major fight, but also leaves you prone to getting 1, 2, or I think it's 2 shot during the last boss of the game, so I hope he's very confident.
Yeah, the way I've heard it put down before, I think I've heard Canaris say, anytime you buy defensive buffs is a time loss. I can't say, like, it is true, technically, but I feel like a lot of players, unless you are very confident, like Questco was saying, they'll run more efficiently with the defensive buffs just because you can go and take a lot more risks. You don't have to worry about just getting 2 shot instantaneously.
The major issue I see is during races. You're like fueled with adrenaline, maybe a bit hyper, and might not play as consistent as you normally do. Or maybe you play even better than you normally do, but are a little bit jittery or whatever. And I just personally find it extremely daring to do that.
Yeah, it really comes down to the runner. Some people thrive off the adrenaline of a race, other people will crash under the pressure.
Did you guys happen to see what kinds of chips MT got? Fudgecow had 2 crit plus 0s.
If I saw that correctly, MT wasn't equipping anything despite resilience and some maybe weapon attack ups.
Oh, okay.
So I think he wasn't that lucky in this run.
That's unfortunate.
Correct me if I'm wrong, chat.
Yeah, I wasn't. I should have been watching it and I wasn't. So here we'll actually see 2 options here. One's called Rainbow Road. We'll see MT going for it. It's a lot more difficult. It's got a lot of inputs to it over the alternative, which is Mario Kart, but it does save about 5 seconds. Plus, sometimes, you know, depending on the person, Mario Kart can have its inconsistencies. But it looks like he gets it second try, so pretty respectable here. And MT's going to start doing, I'd say, probably one of my favorite sections of out-of-bound clips in the game, just castle. It's nothing too complicated or hard, but it's always just, it's just kind of neat. From playing it through casually to just, oh, I guess these windowsills have ledges that you can stand on outside, and you can just skip all the floors by doing this.
Okay, so I didn't want to mention it before because of commentator's curse, which happened to me before during my race versus 6. But if you're not very careful with those windows, you can actually clip in back to the castle. And that can lose you, I think it was about 2 minutes for me, I'm not too sure, but it is brutal.
Yeah, I'd say it loses
about
a minute and a half if you like know exactly where you're going and you do all the skips inside of castle, but
sadly I don't know any of the skips inside of castle, so
Let's go.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to if you're doing the speed run, but
Exactly.
you know.
Alright, so MT starting now in the A2 fight. Not too bad with resilience, but A2 can be a little bit of a meanie in terms of just dashing away like you just saw.
But she's...
Fudgecow coming a little bit short on the pod launch towards the crib, so if you don't do that pod launch very precisely, then you actually don't make it to the crib and you slow walk. And also I saw Fudgecow is having input glitch right now, so I hope that won't give him too much of an issue.
Oh man,
It can be particularly bad during healing up in fights with A2 or whatever, yeah, as you can see right now.
No.
yeah. A2 is being a big bully to MT. We'll see how Fudgecow deals with it.
I'm very worried, to be honest.
Somebody asked, what's input glitch? Does somebody want to explain? Because I'm not actually knowledgeable on the subject.
I've
So-
never actually gotten it myself.
The very short version of input glitch is when you happen to press a button outside the game, for some runners even without pressing any buttons outside of the game, it can happen that the game reads inputs that are not actually happening on your keyboard. So you will, while menuing, for example, your cursor will constantly jump around between different things, making it very difficult to pick your buffs or heal up or whatever. As you can see, the game is constantly switching between keyboard inputs and controller inputs, and the only fix I know of so far is inconsistent at best. Which is, you just switch out of the game, switch back into the game, or if you're running it in windowed mode, you can tap like the Windows bar. It's just something that you kind of have to get lucky with to fix.
And we did see both runners do a little skip at the end of A2, where we saw them both go back in towards the castle. There is a dialogue there that does make you turn around and go back to the intended path of jumping out the window. Unfortunately, that has a lot of dialogue to it, so it kills a lot of time, so we just jump over the dialogue trigger and transport back to Pascal's village, skipping a bunch of dialogue and cutscenes. We'll see MT going for Flooded City, Discovery skip, just jumping under here to get the trigger, and then he will fall down and void out, transporting him back to his original location that he was last on stationary ground. We'll do another plunge back down into a drown zone in Flooded City, and there he is, right down there.
Androids don't need to bathe. As long as you perform regular cleaning and maintenance.
Oops, Fudge just sat down because of input glitch.
It still feels good.
I think
MT
MT
sat down
did as
too,
well too,
actually.
yeah.
Okay. Then maybe it
Smashing
was
too
just
hard.
like...
Oh, unfortunately, okay, there we go. Fudgecow having a little bit of issues with the resistance camp clip there. Can be a little finicky, but it's not too hard of a skip to get down. Here, I think we see one of the most annoying spinners to deal with in the game.
It's not that bad.
I absolutely hate it. I'll have to disagree.
I think that's
The worst thing is if you lock onto it, it just constantly flies away out from you. So if you're not careful, you can actually push it to a point where you cannot attack it with melees anymore unless you're willing to void out over it. So yeah, just don't lock onto it, try to pre-aim it.
Oh, interesting. Fudge taking a little bit of a weird angle on that Flooded City plunge, going, back in towards the city. It shouldn't matter that much, but a little bit angled more to the right, and you don't have to actually do the double plunge. You can just plunge once in SD.
MT is entering, or has entered, our favorite section of the game already, which is like a almost 15-minute shmup called Run. There's not that much to say about that in particular. There's several different waves that you have to defeat that are coming in preset intervals and from preset angles. So yeah, it'll be difficult to do precise commentary on the waves, but we can say a little bit about the boss sections.
I think we honestly just use Grun to just have a fun little chat at this point. There's not too much going on. We can talk about the you know, optimizations you can do on the ground cores, but besides that, the waves, there's not really much to talk about.
It is unfortunately a very long stretch of the run and very boring. Also, just in case you guys are wondering, since the loadless timers are desynced again, there is approximately a 55-56 second differential between the two runners right now.
We're currently resisting with all remaining support fighters, but we can't hold them off for long.
That said, given how boring this Grim segment is, we do have a bounty. Would one of you like to elaborate on that?
Oh man, if you like free money, not really free, but if you like money, this is the skip for you to find.
I don't actually know what the current bounty is. I've been away for quite a while, but last time I checked it was slightly over 2k USD. So if you guys are still
2,500.
Okay, if you guys are interested in 2,500, then try to find the skip. Now, on another note, MT is coming up on the Grand Flyer 1, which is sort of like a mini-boss, I would say. Not much to do here, you just buff up, then you fly into his face, and you have to do 2 cycles of bot programs. If we were able to find a consistent setup for 6 skip, maybe we would have to do it with 4 single bot programs and a skill cell, but that's music of the future, if at all.
Yeah, that's revolutionary stuff right there. You gotta leave that to Apple, man.
Enemy aerial unit destroyed. Reverting back to area recon.
Wait, I'm still picking up a large enemy presence.
Didn't I kill that already?
What on? If it's that big, we should be able to see it.
Maybe I can explain the fact that there's a few runners, I believe Ethereum does it quite regularly, that despawn waves during the ground segment, maybe to get a break for their hands or whatever. If you go into a particular section of the screen during particular parts of the shmup, usually the top right corner, and you spam dash or you stand in a particular angle, the waves coming into the screen will either not appear or instantly explode when they appear. I'm pretty sure you do not get experience for that, so it's debatable in a short category like A. It will pretty much guarantee you won't be level 20 by the end of the run, but at least in something like an A to Z run, which is the second longest category we have, I believe, then that might be a good choice.
Yep. I've definitely tried to do it, experimented with doing it myself before, and I can definitely say I've gotten baited into thinking I got it, and then walked away and immediately gotten shot by spawns. So
I had it a few times, mostly accidentally.
I feel like I can't quite get it consistent enough to guarantee like a bathroom break or anything like that, though.
The main problem is if you screw up really bad or do it in the wrong section. Ethereum has lost 4.5 minutes to it before, so you should probably try to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah, you gotta know you got it before you rest those hands.
Enemy data obtained from command.
Or you could take the 4.5 minute time loss and use that for your bathroom break. I mean,
in a long category, sure, why not?
I mean, why not step it up even more? Take the 4 minutes of time loss in Grun and hit your PV, and then just hold that free time save and get a top 5 time. It's like the advanced fullest.
That sounds really delicious.
I don't know if that's possible, but okay.
Yeah, I don't think 4 minutes of time loss would quite be a top 5 time.
Well, maybe if you're Canaris. I mean, what's Canaris?
If you're Canaris, no problem.
Let's see.
His current PB is 123 something.
Oh yeah, he got a new world record not too long ago. Let's see. Oh, I don't have it in the... I guess he hasn't submitted it yet.
No, I think it was 123 40, I want to say, or like 123.48.
I know it was 1 minute and 9 seconds faster, so that's like 123.34 minus 9, math 25 then?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. It wouldn't be top 5, but it would still be top 10. You could get a top 10 time with a 4.5 minute tea break.
Easy.
We're talking in chat now about ways to optimize Groon to optimize it for the bathroom break, but people are talking about wireless controllers and memorizing the patterns. I'll one up you. I'll train my cat to do Grunt for me, and I'll just walk away and go get a coffee.
Your cat's gonna press Alt F4, man.
I know. She has ruined enough runs at this point. I don't think I can trust her with this responsibility, but how meta would that be?
I mean,
back to be a little more serious right now, Fudge is on like the Ground Core 1. There's a little bit of RNG to it, but mostly you just want to hit each of the small balls 5 times while pod firing at them, and then you just do your pod program twice in a row, and you're pretty much supposed to insta-kill it, as you saw happen just now. And MT is doing the mortar segment, which is only partially skill-based. You can just fire right away as much as you like, and if you just keep spamming it, you'll pretty much hit the center of his mouth 3 times in a row every time. But you can optimize it a little bit by just waiting for a particular cue in dialogue, which I haven't tried yet, so I can't tell you which it is, and then you'll have maybe half a second of time save over the spamming method.
Either way, I just wish we could delete Groon from the game. That'd be nice. You're working on that, right, Questica?
I'm trying, but I found my own little version of it out of frustration over not being able to find Grunt Skip. I just have 2 saves, one after Groon and one starting at reboot, so I skipped the prologue RNG and I skipped Groon and I just continue from the same save. It's not really a category, it's not really competitive, but it's fun to play.
What if we had a category called Groon %, where all we did was chapter select to the Groon shmup and do it 5 times?
Stop.
I would stop. Cry.
Let's not give the sadists in the Discord any fuel, okay?
Sadist? You mean masochist, right? That's why we speedrun this game.
I mean, it could be one and the same. If you're actively wishing for Groon, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I guess that makes you kind of a weird person, wouldn't it? Yeah, free world record, because no one else would touch it.
But I need you to destroy the EMP unit on that thing's back. Otherwise, they're just going to go off course.
I feel like Ethereum would find a way. He'd do it.
He'd do it on very hard.
I think exactly. He's enough of a masochist.
Ethereum does everything on very hard, in case you guys didn't know. I think he's even thought about running like all the way from A to E ending on very hard. I'm not sure if he's done it so far.
He has done it, actually.
Oh my goodness, that guy's mental.
Absolute monster.
It's on the leaderboards. Let me look up the time. It's like 5 hours and something.
I think it's better than the time I set today.
It's 5 hours and 24 minutes.
Okay, no, it's not.
It's
super close, and that's so respectable.
In case you guys don't know, on very hard difficulty in this game, virtually everything can one-shot you. Even like just a projectile from one of those flyers. If it hits you, it will kill you. And attacks of enemies tend to be faster, they tend to be more beefy, some of them at least. And I think that's about it. Oh no, you also can't use lock-on, so you have to pre-aim literally everything.
The hitboxes are also complete bullshit.
Oh yeah, and during run there's a section where there's a lot of flyers spawning right into your face and the camera getting all wonky, and you can very easily get one-shot by them as well.
And depending on where they spawn, they're invincible, so you can't even kill them. But they'll just continue to shoot bullets at you.
Yeah, there's some definitely annoying parts in E. I just run through E and I just can't imagine doing it on very hard without dying.
And as Fudge is doing right now, on being on the second core, there's a small optimization you can do here, which is use your pod program to reduce the amount of RNG luck you're dependent on. and then use your second pod program to one-shot the course center, which he opted not to do. I suppose he was just very confident in his ability to get the 5 hits in.
The timing for the pod program on the side cores is actually quite tight because there's such a long delay. If you mistime that, then you'll either whiff completely or you'll release the pod program too late and then end up getting a bad cycle anyway.
Oh, okay. I never knew that.
It is unfortunately not free, but it does make it easier if you learn the timing.
Alright, so almost out of Grun here, we can kind of stop joking around.
Oh no!
MT.
Oh.
Not
MT,
fortunately, not getting terrible
RNG.
Fortunately, he didn't get bad RNG. Like, it went right to the other slot, so he got it the phase after. But sometimes Grun can be very, very mean and move those cores around 2 or 3 times where it won't give you a targetable spot.
It can be absolutely awful.
And my favorite skip of the game is coming up, which is a ground warp. If you do it right, you won't be hearing any dialogue. And I'm finally starting to get a little more consistent at it, but I've seen a lot of people having slight problems with it in the past. But MT doing it beautifully. Coming up on Copied City version 2.
Probably, debatably, one of the most precise skips in the game in terms of just like having the right angle. For VC2, we've got a multitude of lineups. People use all different sorts of lineups. Personally, I use mouse and keyboard because I'm kind of a little cheater, but
so do I.
It's very consistent on mouse and keyboard. I can typically get it first or second try with no problems.
Absolutely no shame in using mouse and keyboard.
Exactly. And I'm pretty sure actually that there's at least 2 different angles from which you can do it. One is almost parallel and one is into that corner as MT just did. The one doing it parallel is very finicky because 2B has a tendency to just walk to the left instead of into the wall when you do the parallel one. Both, like, I think the setup for the corner seems to work better for most people.
Both these runners still holding pretty close, within a minute of each other.
Just hope there's no soft locks.
This music, though. Sour, please.
No, I don't know. I found the music alright.
You know, before we found Mansplaining Skip, we actually skipped the discovery cutscene, so you wouldn't get the music. You just sit in silence for 40 seconds while Adam finishes his dialogue. It was awful.
That sounds even worse.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely terrible. So another lineup here. Looks like that was sort of similar to the mouse and keyboard lineup. MT lining up the block with the pillar on the wall in the back. And you just do a couple lifts and plunge in. The block that's above you sort of pushes you out of bounds.
It can be done with lower high jump, but from my experience, the one that MT did where you get quite high has a tendency to work more consistent with VC2 and also work with VC3, so maybe he's adapted because he's been playing with VC3 more frequently.
Yeah, I find the mouse and keyboard lineup for mansplaining, if you go extra high, it's very consistent for me. I think I've gotten it first try in the last 10 plus runs I've done. And I don't have to worry about trying to save too much time because I'm adding in the extra height, just because you are waiting for that dialogue specifically anyways.
Yeah, you pretty much get 3 attempts before you lose any skipped time either way, so might as well just give yourself some extra height. And we'll see. I'm pretty sure saves exactly 43 seconds because all of the good runners that have gotten it perfectly have a 43-second gold on that segment.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. As long as you get there before the dialogue, it saves, yeah, about 40 seconds. 43 sounds about right. We will see MT going into Adam here. Adam can be a little bit mean sometimes, but Looks like he's...
Oh,
unfortunate counter attack. Yeah.
The iframes. Oh, Adam, you troll.
That was actually... Adam was being pretty mean there. He can throw out a lot of those sort of iframe attacks where he just disappears and you actually can't damage glitch him, so...
Oh. This one is actually a dialogue skip that I still don't really fully understand. I mean, I know how it works technically, but for some reason I keep failing it. What you want to do is basically talk to the woman next to Anemone. And you normally do that while jumping, so you have a little bit of forward momentum. So you enter a specific area of resistance camp, canceling the dialogue that Commander would normally give you, and then you go to Dabbler and Popular to cancel the pod dialogue, which saves another few seconds and allows you to buy skill cells if you want to use them for the final boss fight.
Yep, the dialogue trigger is the tarp in the ground. We'll see Fudgecow when he gets to it. You'll see him line it up.
I just do the lazy version. I talk to the woman next to Anemone and wait there for like 5 seconds. I think it loses a little bit of time, maybe a lot, I'm not sure, but it works as well.
If that's what they want, why don't they move in?
Oh yeah, that works too. The pod dialogue is timed so it starts a couple of seconds after the commander dialogue is supposedly finished, so that should also work. Fudge also doing the same thing.
Sounds good.
He was not able to talk to an NPC before Pod started talking. Ooh, MT going for the double lift swag. We don't actually know if this is faster or not. No one's actually taken time to time it, but that looks really cool.
He did it quite well. I'll try to time it after.
We'll see MT doing everyone's favorite strat, Pantsu strat. If you angle the camera right, 2B will kind of shoo you away, and it does walk you forward just a little bit faster than the slow walk normally when you talk to Pascal.
It also gets you an achievement.
Yeah, 2B secret. You just have to do that 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got it because of speedrunning. I never knew you could do that before I started running the game.
Likewise.
Oh.
Ooh, MT risking the top
speedrunning.
Oh, fullest.
So yeah, here we're just waiting for the priest walk. He takes quite a long time to get over to this elevator door. You can do what MT did. You can SD to get rid of the rest of your small health pots if you don't want to worry about, you know, having those and, you know, also thinking you have a medium pot. I mean, sure, added benefit. We'll go with that.
It does have merits. Your hitbox is at least visually smaller, so I'm sure it has an impact on the game.
Sure, let's talk about technicalities.
Okay, talking to Pascal there actually saves about 7 seconds, because normally he would talk, which delays the elevator loads, and all elevators are technically speaking load zones.
Yeah, that actually blew my mind, because you did the first time I found out about it was when you actually did it in our race, and I didn't know why I lost 7 seconds to you, but that was actually like something I didn't even think about.
I saw Icefire do it in his run against, I think it was Cecilia, and then I realized, if Icefire is doing something, there's usually a good reason to it. He later revealed he only does it because he finds Pascal annoying, but I timed it and it's actually a lot faster.
Let's talk more running.
Alright, so we see MT, he is going to do the Mook's room clip. It does just spawn all the Mooks towards the back of the room, and the elevator opens up. Saves you from having to kill a lot of the Mooks to get that same elevator trigger. Unfortunately, you do miss out on the experience, but you do save, I think it's something like 8 seconds over an absolutely ideal fight, and absolutely ideal, like, Mook's room fights almost never happen. So, it's more than that.
Ooh, very nice.
MT getting the first try clip. I don't think he even touched the ground. Oh, he did touch. Okay.
normally I think pop launches are slower movement tech, but for this particular clip, the alternative is standing on top of that, I would call it a pipe, which can be very finicky and difficult, and then you can just do like a heavy lunge, but the pop launch there circumvents you from having to go onto that pipe, making it a lot faster. And MT was just slightly off to the left, I believe, during that particular clip, because you want to flip out of bounds, land on there, and then do this plunge. Then we are speed to keep our momentum and to not despawn. And if we despawn at just the right moment, we actually activate the trigger down by that door. But MT was just a little bit too early. This time he got it.
Yeah.
And that rail that you just saw MT run across is very, very finicky sometimes. You go too far to the... that was close. Okay.
That's the last soft lock in the game.
And MT was risking to get it for a lot of time gain.
I get my correction here, Fullest. It is not the last soft lock in the game. There is actually Soshi as well.
Soshi? Oh, that's right. Hey, don't jinx it.
I'm not. I'm just saying a relative soft lock.
Don't jinx it.
No. There is no soft lock there. Everything is fine. Don't.
Yeah, everything is perfectly fine.
MT is gonna somehow manage to skip the entire Soshi dialogue instead.
Oh, I got worried for a sec. He was really high there. Okay, I actually got a little bit worried that I did jinx it.
So
fair enough.
Technically speaking, I'm gonna wait until Fudge did the same thing before I'll explain this.
Ooh, he got first try though. Good job,
nice.
Fudge. Save a little bit of time. He's got a weird angle, but he'll make it. That's fine.
Okay.
We just encountered.
I got it.
And what you just saw is actually called Deep Factory Skip. I don't know exactly how much time it saves, but it's north of 1 minute.
Hang in there, 2B. 90%. 92. 95. 98.
A little bit of optimization there, trying to get more experience by killing that guy. But if you take more than 1 DG, you usually save time. Lose time, sorry. Brain not working.
Alright, here we go.
Shut down the electrical grid.
Does MT do the slow-mo? Oh no, he's just doing pod fire, so he won't be going for the zero cycle. Hopefully
zero cycle is something that most runners aren't very comfortable with. Fullest, I think, is pretty consistent at it, but even Canaris, the world record holder, struggles with it.
It depends on which attacks Soshi decides to give you.
Pretty clean Soshi though coming up from MT. No real issues. Usually you want to avoid knocking out one of Soshi's legs as he'll drop to the ground for about 10 seconds, and then you can't continue on with the fight.
Oh yeah, there's a new movement tech here on the way out from the factory. I wonder if MT's seen it and if he's going to use it.
It's
you guys know about the high jump?
I've tried it. Yeah, it's actually saves some time. Easy. It's nice to do, and you don't have to do Shabu skip, which would still save time, but this seems so much easier and so much more consistent.
Let's see if he does it.
Oh,
he's doing
it.
He's going for it. Oh!
Sick.
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed until today when I saw Game Commander trying to go for it.
Oh yeah? Sick.
So yeah, I think it was Game Commander, or no, it was WSCHSENG who found it, I believe. He's finding quite a few things recently. Wishes to Sang, I can't say that, I'm so sorry.
He doesn't know how to pronounce it out there.
Say his name? Yeah, my guess was Shang.
I've asked him, he doesn't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. He just made it up.
Gosh darn it, was Shang.
It's fine.
No thanks.
We're both in the same club then.
How do you pronounce your name?
I personally just say Quastica. I tried to make up a origin story, but ultimately it's pretty random.
How about you, 6?
I don't want to talk about it.
Is it perhaps like the number 6?
No.
Now I'm gonna throw you for
Fudge skipping the high jump.
like.
Let's move.
So during this section of the game, all you want to do is try to avoid locking on onto the enemies that drop in from the air. Hot slow-mo does help a little bit with that, but not a lot of runners seem to be doing it. You can also do what MT was doing just now and angle your camera away from the enemies. It doesn't always work, but it's fairly consistent. And as soon as you're in resistance camp is pretty much where the boss rush starts. Both runners actually on pretty good pace for sub 130. Fudgecow might have a little bit of trouble, but I think MT has a fair chance of getting it. Is Discord dead, or did I kill commentary?
No, we're just... Everyone's sidetracked. Trying to figure out how far apart they are.
Yeah, I wrote down the time. So MT got the Burning Resistance Camp cutscene right at 1:23:16. So we'll see the time difference once Fudgecow hits that cutscene as well. It looks to be just about a minute though. It might be a little more.
So we will see MT coming up on Bokushi. He can be kind of annoying depending on the attack pattern he gives you, but usually he's not too much of an issue. The electricity field that surrounds him, I think it triggers once every 10 seconds, so you just get hit by it and heal it initially, and then you can just go in damage glitch.
Alright, that's about 1 minute and 10 seconds difference currently.
Oh, looks like a very clean fight for MT so far.
But will we get the instant vacuum?
Question.
No, sadly not.
No.
Honda seems to be
gets a good save.
Yeah. He does get the SD though, however, so that's nice considering he went for Mook's clip, so he was going to be missing out on the experience in Mook's. Might as well pick up a little bit after Bokushi.
It's pretty much the only way we can semi-consistently get level 20 if we skip Mook's room.
Did he buy 47 skill cells? Did I see that correctly?
I don't have very good vision, so I can't tell, but I know he has something in there which he has a lot of, so I suppose it might as well be skill cells.
I mean, you might as well do it, there's not else we really buy.
Yeah, if you just push left on the D-pad, you'll buy the maximum possible amount, so you save. You'll just lose a minimum amount of time doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's correct. It's just usually you don't have enough money to buy that much, so that's interesting for me to see that.
Oh yeah, no, MT's just running that.
Man, he's just loaded. Alright, Fudgecow, will you... No instant vacuum for Fudgecow either. Bokushi not being kind to either of our runners.
The instant vacuum seems to be at least partially RNG based. We don't know exactly what triggers it, but I'd say maybe half the time the core just decides to jump once before it allows you to finish that phase.
Yeah, I've seemed to have more success with getting it by, as soon as he enters the ball, just doing a lift so that hitbox from that hits him, and then plunging just in case the lift doesn't do enough damage or it hits at the wrong time.
Ooh, I think MT is going for the zero cycle.
Ooh.
He is.
And he gets
it.
He didn't get the dialogue cancel though.
Is that actually important? I'm not sure.
It saves, I don't know the exact timing, I think it saves around 5 seconds or so. It's pretty significant actually.
Alright. Yeah, that's true, now I remember. If you get the dialogue and you're already hit, it just won't trigger the boss fight until it's over.
We'll take care of Eve.
You just worry about
yeah,
the village safe.
So you'd have to wait when you're out
now.
The skill cells reduce the cooldown of the pod program, which we kind of have an alternative to using pod programs during Eve, but we'll see if either runner goes for that strat.
It'll be interesting. That was one of the more recently found things. not so recently that I wouldn't be surprised if either runner both did it, though.
Yeah.
It seems to have become pretty meta strategy at this point.
What is it?
The energy seems to be
Ooh,
coming.
World record
Fudge
does it, so better learn it.
hits on the spawn.
He's absorbing the light
I haven't seen
from
someone
the
try
network.
going for that before. Well played.
Ooh, that core was in a precarious position, though. Almost on fence.
Shutting him down.
Something that I've recently had happen to me that I didn't quite understand is while 9S is trying to hack Eve, for some weird reason,
The actions of Unit 9S have
Eve just healed to full after the hack was over and did the whole phase again. Maybe someone of you can elaborate on that?
I could not give any technical insight to it, but I can say it's happened to me before.
Sorry, I missed what you were saying. What
Just talking about 9S, or Eve resetting on the 9S hacking phase after 9S has hacked him.
Oh, the phase skip. Yeah, that's so MT. He let Eve heal to full, and what he was trying to do was get Eve back down to 0 HP, so he would be in the healing state by a certain point in the dialogue. That essentially guarantees you the fastest possible Eve phase 2. And he's playing it very risky there.
Ooh.
Yeah, wow.
You
This
take,
is what
you
I was
take 2
talking
hits and
about
you're
earlier.
dead against this boss, and he was not healing for a
He
really
was
long
holding that
time.
pod program too. When you hold the pod programs down, you actually can't pop heals, so it is sort of a risky thing.
Yeah.
Does get the SD
He
cancel.
goes for the SD.
It does actually save a significant amount of time if you get it well. If you, however, SD and don't hit Eve, you're in deep trouble.
You either risk dying or just losing a bunch of time.
Also, it has to be done at a very specific threshold of health, and if I'm not mistaken, melee buffs do increase the damage of your SD.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
So if any one of those things happens, your taunt runs out, or your melee buff runs out, or whatever, you might just not be doing enough damage.
Mhm.
Well, it looks like MT does come away with the win on this one. I don't think there's really anything you can do to screw it up past here.
Short of a game crash, but that's very unlikely.
Don't jinx it, Fullest.
I've never seen anyone crash at this part of the run. I think we're completely safe.
I'm not too sure without defensive buffs, but I have faith in Fudge that he can pull it off.
Well played. 130-26 for MT.
Always very
But
solid.
I don't think he's going for the SD strat, so he'll be coming up a bit later.
So you want to switch the audio, Fullest? Okay,
Yeah.
sweet. Awesome. Alright, so Fudge coming in, he's on last stage, phase 4. Again, you just want to keep healing here and just get Eve as close to you as possible, so when he does eventually drop out, if he's close enough, you'll just get an instantaneous cutscene. Alrighty.
Oh, he's not
Hello
close
there,
enough
MT.
now.
Okay, and Fudge getting it down as well.
I must have been corrupted when Eve detached from the network.
So yeah, very close race, within a minute of, or a little bit over a minute of each other.
It's okay. I can always
Hello, sorry I Discord muted.
Oh, all good.
Oops, sorry.
Hi.
Discord has been very nice to us during the run as well.
They're having some service issues currently.
corrupted data to the bunker. So
9S.
Alrighty, well, I guess we can wait for Fudge to get in here since you both finished about the same time, and then we can just do 2 interviews at once.
Sounds great.
There we go. Alright, perfect.
Hi.
Fullest, you wanna start it out? Because I think you have questions, or maybe it's Shabu who always has the questions, but
Good job, guys. Good race. That was pretty close throughout. How do you guys feel about your race?
Terrible.
Aw.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
yeah. To be fair, it is pretty hard to feel like good about your race when both of you PB right before the race. Like,
Fair.
come on.
Prologue was just kind of rough. Like,
Yeah.
really lost a lot of composure there, especially getting punches. This is my like
Yeah.
fourth tournament race in a row where I've gotten punches, so like it took a while to calm down. Like, I brought it back up some, but I don't know. It's good enough.
Still
Yeah.
a very respectable race from the both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without punches, you would have been very close to sub 130 MT. So
Yeah.
punches are a real shame.
Yep, for
There you go.
sure.
That sucks.
It's okay. There's no way I could get it in the next race, right?
Surely.
No,
Surely.
no possible
Surely,
way.
no way.
I mean, just
What's
make
the
sure.
actual chance of that? I don't know.
I'm not willing to sit through 15 minutes of prologue to find out. Let's just say that. I'm not willing to crunch those numbers.
I really have a feeling that it's like he has a greater chance to do punches than anything else, but just theory.
So, in the spirit of Shabu and interviewing, let me just steal some of his questions. What did you guys feel particularly good about during your respective runs? Maybe you go first, MT.
Yeah, sure. Deep Factory. It took me 2 void outs, but I got the dialogue trigger on the second void out. I failed that in the run that I did right before this, where I PB'd. So, yeah, that's probably the biggest thing in the run for me. Is if I get Deep Factory, I'm pretty happy.
And same question to you, Fudge. What did you feel particularly good about during your run, if anything?
I think I got 1 skip first try, so that was good. What's it called? 9S room. That was first try.
Oh, all right.
You get second.
Skip, I think. And
the returning back.
Is there anything that the two of you would love to change about your runs despite RNG-based things?
What do you mean change? I mean most of the early game, everything before Grun.
And MT?
Yeah. Pretty much, like from Grun onwards was like okay.
Okay, then I think that's the 2 questions I can think of for right now.
Yeah, I can't really think of much else besides. No, I can't think of anything actually. I'm blank. You guys stole the questions.
The Shabu questions are good.
I know. What are his questions? It's always like, what do you feel best about your run, and what do you feel worst about your run? But I mean, we already did that.
Not everyone can be Shabu, unfortunately.
I wish.
Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say? Otherwise, we can start wrapping up.
Good luck in the rest of the tournament, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and I also appreciate the commentary tonight, for sure.
Yeah, no problem. It was actually a lot of fun to do with 3 people. Kind of nice balance, honestly.
What do you think about doing that for the finals?
Oh, I'd be so down with it, actually.
By the way, Fudge, there's been a stream of requests of you saying a particular string of words in chat. Maybe you can do that to make our stream very happy.
Charcoal pine bundles.
Thank you so much. I hope stream and chat is happy now.
They better be.
Sick.
Alright, well...
Oh, go ahead.
No, we both want to do the same thing. You can go ahead and get it. I've done enough send-offs here.
I stole my last from Sharu, so I'll let you have that one, Follis.
Alright, well, thank everyone for watching. We do have links to our runners and commentary in the chat here. Feel free to follow. We do have the tournament also linked. Thank you, Canaris. This tournament is not over. There will be more matches coming up. I believe the next one is
12 hours. Something like that. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's in...
enjoyed my commentary. Feel free to join. As it's looking right now, I might be commentating that solo. If not, please join anyways, because the races are amazing.
Yeah, please join so Questica has some company while you guys all watch that race. It should be a good one. It's between Blue Metal and oh god, how do you pronounce this name again? Wishang?
Wishang.
That's gonna be a great one.
Yeah, that's gonna
really
be
close.
a really hype race. So if you guys are awake for that, obviously depending on your time zones, make sure to tune in for that.
Is that on winner's side?
Yeah, I believe so.
Boy.
Yeah, whoever wins that race gets to face me. Oh boy, I'm gonna lose immediately. So that'll be fun. All right. Thanks all for watching, and I hope you have a good night, good day, whatever time it is for you.
See you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.